afternoon, and good evening to you. Welcome to Wednesday's edition of TFH, the Full 100. This is where the truth is told, and today is the 27th of May 2020. Guys, today's topic is one that we need to start discussing, really. We need to start discussing. And today's topic is the United States of America now a banana republic? So guys, without further ado, let's get to it. Guys, I've asked that question because if we're being honest with ourselves, Trump's behavior in the last 4 years, if the Prime Minister of Ethiopia had behaved that way, or the Prime Minister of Iran, the President of Iran, or the President of any African nation, any nation of color, Colombia, we would call that country a banana republic, guys. No doubt in my mind, no doubt. What I'm curious about is how come the press, none of the press has actually even attempted to discuss this. So this is the platform that we're now going to discuss that. Now, I'm going to show you guys a few videos just to make my point. And it's important to make this point because what we're seeing out there at the moment is Trump makes a mistake. No, not even makes a mistake. Sorry, I'm going to take that back. Trump behaves crazy. When you tell people to drink bleach, inject in disinfectant, inject it, you're crazy. So let me readdress that. When Trump behaves crazy, what I notice is some parts of the press just ignore it completely. Some other parts of the press who really want him to do well are rooting for his racist side will go, well, I wouldn't personally say that. You wouldn't, of course you wouldn't personally say that. My 9-year-old wouldn't personally say that. So what the hell does that mean? I wouldn't personally say that. Coming from an intelligent group of people. Then you have the other press that outright call it out. Those press, he calls fake news. The ones who call him out. He calls them all fake news. He calls the ones in the middle who I wouldn't say that. He calls them fake press. The ones who keep completely quiet about it or defend it, he calls the real news. This is the world that we are now living in, where reality has been flipped on its head, where it's now normal. You know, it's normal to lie. Okay? So the first of my videos, guys, is this. This is a montage of some of the stuff that I'm talking about to further hammer the nail on the coffin of the United States being any kind of sensible country. It is a banana republic, guys. Take a look.
So, a question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So, supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light.
What?
And
No.
that has an ejector.
No, it'll blow apart your DNA. It'll overwhelm the mutation fixing enzymes. It's like
And I think
it cause cancer.
and then I see the disinfectant.
No, the bacteria will be fine, but you'll be dead. Or of cancer.
Injection inside or almost a counting.
God, no, God. It's so easy to treat cancer because there's nothing else that you could do. I'm not a doctor, as you possibly have found out. I'm not a doctor, but I'm a person with common sense. I'm not a doctor, but I have common sense. There are promising therapies. And that would be it's called remdesivir. Remdesivir. I don't want to get anybody overly excited, but I'm very excited by that. So you have remdesivir, and you have chloroquine, and some people would add to it hydroxychloroquine.
That's a drug that the president has directed us to take a closer look at. We want to do that in the setting of a clinical trial, a large, pragmatic clinical trial.
And I say, try it. Take it. I really think they should take it. In fact, I might do it anyway. I may take it. I've seen things that I sort of like, so what do I know? I'm not a doctor. I'm not acting as a doctor. I'm saying, do what you want. Hydroxychloroquine and the Z-Pak, I think, is a combination, probably is looking very, very good.
I'm not totally sure what the president was referring to. If you really want to definitively know if something works, that you've got to do the kind of trial that you get the good information.
Why should we be testing it in a test tube for a year and a half when we have thousands of people that are very sick? The vaccine does have to be tested for a long period of time because you can't give, thousands, millions of people a vaccine and it turns out to be dangerous. It's tested in the sense that you know it doesn't kill you.
What we don't know is when you put it in the context of another disease, whether it's safe. Fundamentally, I think it probably is going to be safe, but I like to prove things first.
I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying we hear great results. I really think...
Now, welcome back, guys. Tell me something. If the Prime Minister, like I've said, of Colombia, were making those statements over and over again in the last 4 years, would we not call that guy a crazy guy leading a banana republic? Americans would be the first ones to say that. Trump himself, if he was in power, would be calling this guy out as a banana republic. We've heard him call black nations banana republics when they are perfectly sane and normal. Okay? So as if that wasn't bad enough, those are just crazy, crazy stuff, that first video. Now we're going to come to actual lies. I mean, fact-checkable, blatant lies. Take a look.
Add the zinc.
Dr. Fauci said there is no magic drug for coronavirus right now, which you would agree.
I disagree. Maybe and maybe not. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I feel good about it. That's all it is, just a feeling. I'm a smart guy. I feel good about it. I like this stuff. I really get it. People are surprised that I understand it. When somebody is very sick, they go to... Every one of these doctors said, how do you know so much about this? When you look at these hospitals, the amount that they order, you almost say, how could they possibly use so much, whether it's masks or the protective gear? Why aren't they able to use that mask a second, third, fourth time? If you take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
No. Probably not.
There's a study out there that says people that have lupus haven't been catching this virus. No, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Young people seem to be, you can't say immune to it, but they're certainly the numbers. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle, it will disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. Nobody really knows.
Because I have a very good brain and I've said a lot of things.
Don't be threatening. Be nice. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. What a stupid question that is. Keep your voice down, please.
You've said repeatedly that you think that some of the equipment that governors are requesting, they don't actually need. You said New York might not need 30,000. You said it on Sean Hannity's Fox News. You said that
why
you might.
Why don't you people act? Let me ask you.
You said
why
some
don't
states.
you act? Why don't you act in a little more positive? It's always trying to
My
get
question to you
get
is.
Get you. And you know what? That's why nobody trusts the media anymore.
My
That's
question
why
to you is, how is that going to impact?
Excuse me, you didn't hear me. That's why you used to work for the Times and now you work for somebody else. Look, let me tell you something. Be nice. Don't
Mr.
be
President, my
threatening.
question
Don't
is-
be threatening. Be nice.
Jared Kushner said the notion of the federal stockpile was it's supposed to be our stockpile. It's not supposed to be state stockpiles that they then use. What did he mean by our?
Oh, why don't you ask him?
And
I mean,
even the fact that taxpayers from
What's that?
every
I got
state
you. I
pays
got
for
you.
it.
It's such a basic, simple question, and you try and make it sound so bad. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know what? You ought to be ashamed. You just asked your question in a very nasty tone.
The Paycheck Protection Program has gotten off to a confusing start for small
I don't
businesses
think so. I think it's done very well.
Wells Fargo has stopped taking applications. Bank of America
Not
initially
anymore, they haven't.
prioritized taking applications from clients that were already borrowers.
I wish you'd ask the question differently. Why don't you say it's gotten off to a tremendous start, but there are some little glitches, which, by the way, have been worked out. It would be so much nicer if you do that. But you're just incapable of asking a question in a positive way. It's such a positive event, and you ask it in such a negative way. It's just, I wish we had a fair media in this country, and we really don't.
We're angry because information about the virus should have been told to us earlier and a lot sooner. People knew it was happening, and people did not want to talk about it. Many Americans are saying the exact same thing about you, that you should have warned them the virus was spreading like wildfire through the month of February instead of holding rallies with thousands of people. Why did you wait so long to warn them?
Who are you with?
And why did you not have social distancing until March 16th?
Who are you with?
I'm Weijia Jiang with CBS. And Robert Mueller.
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions. Sit down, please. Sit down. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. I'll give you voter suppression. Excuse me, I'm not responding to you. I'm talking to this gentleman. Will you please sit down? The same thing with April Ryan. I watch her get up. I mean, you talk about somebody that's a loser. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. Question? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. She's shocked that I picked her. No. She's like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
What do you say to Robert Mueller? He said that you're lying from your
Let me just tell you something. I know you always have a question. You mean my White House aides lied? What about his aides? What about Mueller's aides?
Now, you know, he lies about everything. Listen, let me tell you guys something. Obama took power in 2008, okay? When he took power in 2008, the depression that lasted till 2012, 13-ish, for countries like Spain, where we were living, by 2014, when we moved back to the UK, they were still in a recession. The UK started to turn the corner about 2012 or 2011. The UK started to sort of see green shoots, okay? Obama took over. The first black man to ever run the United States, he took over in a recession. That recession was so deep, right, that every country felt it. The US, by 2010, 2 years into Obama's regime, was already starting to see green shoots. Now, the 8 years that Obama ran the country, they averaged between 2.5%, 2.8% growth on average. He saw 3%, and then he came back down. But he's left when Trump took over. He handed this guy one of the best economies, okay, on the planet at the time, and one of the strongest economies, job growths. He placed more people in jobs than this guy right here, right now, okay? And yet he can still tell lies about things like that. And the press, generally, a lot of the press allow him to get away with it. Now, tax cuts, you can see from that, his tax cuts were not the highest. He's the 8th highest tax cuts. But in his head and his followers, as well as a lot of you, my black community, who believe in him, okay, believe that he's done the best for black people since Kingdom Come. It's a lie.
President Trump has crossed 10,000 false and misleading claims.
So many claims. Normally, reaching 10,000 of anything is good.
Every president says things that are false or misleading.
Most modern presidents have one big false or misleading claim that is inextricably linked to their time in office.
Well, now you're going to hear the facts from a White House source, and you know my name.
Some are more memorable than others.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
That the Iraqi regime continues to possess and conceal some of the most lethal weapons ever devised.
They'll see that if Americans like their doctor, they will keep their doctor. And if you like your insurance plan, you will keep it.
I've already started building the wall. We built large sections.
But President Trump doesn't just have one. He has nearly 300 claims that he's repeated 3 or more times since taking office, and some of those claims he's repeated literally hundreds of times. Here are the top 3.
So we're building the wall. It started, and we started the wall. It's doing well, including the building of the wall, which we started, but we should build it at one time.
President Trump's wall is not being built.
The funding that Congress has approved is for repairs and fencing.
Power of the purse isn't agreeing to it. You can't do it. That's the way the federal government works.
You have to see these trade deals.
We were losing a fortune.
Hundreds of billions of dollars. We lost $500 billion.
300, 400, 500 billion dollars a year. Billion!
And for years, we were losing a tremendous amount of money.
We're losing a lot of money.
That's false.
It's just a false construct.
Countries don't make or lose money on trade. It's not like a pickpocketing situation.
It's the biggest reduction in taxes in the history of this country. It's the biggest tax cut in American history. This is the largest tax cut in the history of our country.
The biggest tax cut, biggest reform of all time.
That's false.
Trump doesn't even get past what Obama did.
Trump's tax cut is the 8th largest in the last 100 years.
But the claims don't happen in a vacuum. There are trends. Trump made nearly 3 times as many false or misleading claims in his second year than he did in his first. Almost a quarter of these claims were during campaign-style rallies, and nearly a fifth were about immigration. And what Trump talks about fluctuates based on what's happening in the news.
We're doing this in part for the historical record. It is such an unusual situation when you have a president who is constantly saying so many things that are false and misleading.
He's sui generis. He's of his own kind.
But that's what makes it history.
That he has told continuously, okay? Now, I'm going to go to my next video is about his myths and conspiracies. I have never in my 52 years lived through a period, my people, right, where conspiracies is the norm. Literally, conspiracies is the norm. Take a look at this video and then we'll discuss afterwards.
Was stunning. The President of the United States just acknowledged that he is taking hydroxychloroquine, a drug that meant really to treat malaria and lupus. The President has insisted that it has enormous benefits for patients either trying to prevent or already have COVID-19. The fact of the matter is, though, when the President said, "What have you got to lose?" in a number of studies, those certainly vulnerable to the population have one thing to lose, their lives. A VA study showed that among a population of veterans in a hospital receiving this treatment, those with vulnerable conditions, respiratory conditions, heart ailments, they died. There are also a number of other studies out, including the Journal of the American Medical Association, which examined some 1,438 individuals in the New York area across 25 hospitals from the middle of March to the end of March. The study was a real chance to look at the benefits that the President insisted were hydroxychloroquine. They concluded that among residents hospitalized in metropolitan New York with COVID-19, the treatment or both compared with neither treatment, no statistical differences. A second study done by Joseph Gilleris and colleagues at the New York Presbyterian Hospital, Columbia University Irving Medical Center in northern Manhattan from March 7th to April 8th also showed there were no visible differences, that the risk of intubation or death was not significantly higher or lower among patients who received hydroxychloroquine versus those who did not. The VA study to which the president alluded wasn't a loaded political one. It was a test on patients there, and those who took it in a vulnerable population, including those with respiratory or other conditions, they died. I want to stress again, they died. If you are in a risky population here and you are taking this as a preventative treatment to ward off the virus, or in a worst case scenario, you are dealing with the virus, and you are in this vulnerable population, it will kill you. I cannot stress enough. This will kill you.
Guys, welcome back, by the way. The reason I'm doing this video, okay, is because I'm literally watching in slow motion. This guy, it's like he sets a mad pace, and then the press spend the whole day trying to show him he's mad, and then his press spend the next day trying to show the other press that he made a mistake or this is the right. You know, they spend hours trying to defend his stupidness. So the new one, my people, is Joe Biden. Some of you might not know. Joe Biden was Obama's vice president for 8 years. He's just been successful as the Democrats' nominee to go head-to-head against Trump. So Trump has been denying this whole thing. He's been denying it after denial, calling it a hoax after a hoax, calling it the Democrats. His son, I brought you guys on the fake news video I made the other day. I brought you guys, his son still believes that Joe Biden and his crew, the Democrats, that on the day after the election, they're just going to make Corona vanish just like that, okay? So now his new thing is to turn the mask, wearing a mask, into something he thinks he can disrespect Biden about. Oh, look at Biden, he's so weak wearing a mask. I'm strong, I don't wear masks. And you know, it's become a debate. It's actually become a debate. It's become a political debate. On one side, you got Trump and his nutcases, 35% of them, which my black friends over here are part of. You've got them saying, yeah, I'm not wearing a mask. Trump's not wearing a mask, so I'm not going to wear a mask. We're macho, we carry guns up and down the street. You got that bunch. And you got the sane, normal people. And the crazy thing is, Trump does not care that 67, 80, 70% of people are saying, yes, we need to wear masks. 67, 80, 70% of people are wearing masks because they see common sense. The rest of the world are wearing masks. Never mind all of that. In Trump's little circle of 30, 35%, he looks great not wearing a mask. And he looks like a champion telling Biden, who wore a mask in public, that he's weak for wearing a mask. This is what I'm talking about. When your world seems like the crazy people are the ones who are sane, it's time to call that country a banana republic, my people. Take a look at how Biden answers his stupidity. Take a look.
Big story, and that is that President Trump continues to wage war on face masks, turning them into a political statement. The president continues to mock Joe Biden for wearing one in public. The former vice president now responding in an exclusive interview with CNN.
He's a fool, an absolute fool to talk that way. I mean, every leading doc in the world is saying we should wear a mask when you're in a crowd.
Now, it's crazy, you know, and as crazy as the US is now, yeah, this is what it is. His supporters think no masks is strong. Masks is weak, okay? There is a group of people that actually think that. I mean, I know a few people here is like, I'm wearing a mask. If I'm going to get it. That's crazy enough. But okay, I can accept that and I can deal with that. But how do you deal with a group of people that see wearing masks as weakness? That, in my opinion, is crazy as they come. Because what these people are forgetting is wearing masks isn't just protecting yourself. Wearing masks guarantees that you protect the next person too. So if that person is wearing a mask and I come close to them, they're protecting me as much as I'm protecting them by wearing a mask. We're protecting each other. Now, to turn common sense upside down smells disaster for this country. If this guy has another 4 years, if he can turn a top-rate country like America into a banana republic in 4 years, imagine what this guy would do in 8 years, bros. Imagine what this guy can do in 8 years to that country. Seriously, I honestly do not want to think about it. There's more to come, because now Twitter has actually banned or fact-checking, brought in a rule because of the leader of a country. And I'll tell you something else. If this guy was the leader of Colombia, or the leader of Ghana, or the leader of Jamaica, or Nigeria, or India even, I think Twitter would have barred him. The only reason they're not barring him is because he's the president of their country. So take a look at Joe Biden's full argument for this idiot, Trump.
So this morning, as you can see on your screen, the United States is about to reach a horrific milestone: 100,000 confirmed American deaths from coronavirus. This as President Trump has openly mocked journalists, political leaders who wear masks to prevent the spread of the virus. Former Vice President Joe Biden is responding in an exclusive interview with CNN.
He's a fool, an absolute fool to talk that way. I mean, every leading doc in the world is saying we should wear a mask when you're in a crowd. And especially when you know you're going to be in a position where you're going to inadvertently get closer than 12 feet to somebody. I know we're 12 feet apart, I get that. But it's just absolutely, this macho stuff for a guy, I shouldn't get going, but it just is, it's cost people's lives. It's costing people's lives.
How are you going to combat that?
Watch me. Look, I mean, talk about a guy who's missing a step. He's missing something, man. I don't want to get down into giving him nicknames, but this is a fella who looks like he's having trouble controlling his own emotions. What worries me is, all this stuff about Biden's hiding. Well, the fact of the matter is, it's working pretty well so far doing the rules. He's behind in almost every state. Doesn't mean it's going to be that way come November, but the idea that he seems to get more erratic the more he feels like he's behind the curve.
A lot of new...
Welcome back, guys. You can see from that tape, I missed out telling you guys about the mail-in voting thing. He's now full of threats. He's going to threaten Twitter, which I'm going to bring you the video in a minute. He's threatening the post office now, that you're going to cut the post office's money because they're sending mail-in ballots. States that are thinking ahead. Come November, there might not be a need for that. However, they are thinking ahead. They're planning for the worst. They're sending it out from now because America's huge. Some states have 11 million. Some states, just a state alone, is the population of many countries. Like states like California, states like New York, states like Texas. These countries are massive. These states are massive. They're the size of many countries individually. California is the 5th largest economy in the world if California was a country. Okay? So he's threatening to cut money from the post office. He's threatened states that wouldn't open up by saying he's not going to give them the money. He's not going to give allocated federal money. That's not his choice. It's Congress's choice. So Congress have told him, listen, go away. Okay? But he's still threatening it because he's got something called the executive order. So anything that Congress can pass, the president always has that choice to do something by executive order, to veto something by executive order, to stop something by executive order, or to make something happen by executive order, right? So because he's got that little power in his back pocket, he feels free to threaten all this stuff that you're seeing. Now, how many of you guys who watch this video, who's lived in a Western country, has ever heard your prime ministers or your presidents threatening the post office that they're going to cut the money? threatening states that they're not going to get the money allocated to them because they're trying to save lives, threatening states that want to send out mail-in ballots. So voters who are scared to come out, if this is still with us at that time, a guy who's scared or lady who's scared to come out to vote at least has the option to vote by post. This guy, that's not good enough for him. Okay? So he has a Twitter rant. Now have a look at these couple of videos about his beef now with Twitter. Because Twitter finally, after 4 years, did what they should have done from day one. From day one. If they'd done this in 2016, before the election started, before the election happened, Trump wouldn't have won. He wouldn't have won. Because they had so much like Brexit wouldn't have happened either. Brexit would not have happened either. Okay? Because the guy that's now in trouble in Boris Johnson's advisor, top advisor, was the same person who twisted and told lies on social media that grew and grew and grew and permeated the public psyche that made the Brexit vote be a leave one. Okay? And I will bring that story to you guys at some point next week about Boris Johnson's crisis. But Twitter finally did something this week, Monday, that they should have done, in my opinion, 4 years ago, in 2016. Take a look at this battle now between Trump and Twitter.
President Trump is threatening to, quote, strongly regulate or close down social media platforms after Twitter fact-checked the president, really for the first time, his false claims, dishonest statements about widespread fraud with mail-in ballots. There isn't. CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan joins me now. Donnie, first, tell us what Twitter is doing for the first time.
Sure, that's right, John. Thousands of tweets, and years later, Twitter yesterday, for the first time, fact-checked its most prolific user. The president was making claims about mail-in ballots, of course, that being considered now as we prepare for an election in the age of COVID-19. And he's even falsely claiming that the governor of California is sending those ballots to undocumented immigrants. So last night, Twitter took action. It was a small action, at least. You can see here, it placed a label, a little one, on the president's tweet. It didn't quite say it was false. It says, get the facts about mail-in ballots. And then if a user clicked on that label, it would bring them to a page that said Trump makes unsubstantiated claims that mail-in ballots will lead to voter fraud. Now, unsurprisingly, and really right on cue, Trump and his supporters were outraged by this, saying it was a sign of Silicon Valley's anti-conservative bias. And Trump tweeted last night saying that Twitter was in some way trying to stifle his free speech. And even, as you mentioned, of course, this morning now, the president tweeting that maybe it's time to regulate big tech.
Yeah, interesting that he's threatening to shut them down or somehow regulate them. That's not generally what happens in a democracy.
Anything that I see on Twitter, I will say that it's okay for political conventions to be political, but pandemic response cannot be.
That's North Carolina's Democratic governor responding to a threat from President Trump to move the Republican convention out of Charlotte because of coronavirus restrictions. The president has given him a 1-week deadline. Joining me now is the
Welcome back, guys. My next clip is a short one to show you that hopefully when Biden wins, common sense will return. Listen to Biden's response to Trump's crazy baby, overgrown baby complaint about mail-in vote. Listen to Joe Biden.
Attacks on mail-in voting. How confident are you that the election in November is going to be safe, secure, and fair?
It depends a lot on whether or not the president follows through with his threats, President Trump. For example, cutting off money for the post office and for mail-in ballots. This is the guy who sits in the Oval Office, fills out his absentee mail-in ballot, and sends it to Florida to vote in the primary. Now, why is that not something that is susceptible to fraud or as you talk? There's no evidence at all. There's no reason why we can't have an honest, decent vote, and the president is always lying about voting. Yeah, I heard him again. He was talking about how all those thousands of people in California go in and vote 2 and 3 and 4 times. I mean, it's just bizarre.
Your political opponents.
Welcome back again, guys. I mean, all I can say is the more I see Biden, the more I feel like we're going to get back to a normal world. The more I feel like, like there is normal out there. Because between listening to Trump, seeing all these right-wing fake news, speaking to some of my friends, I feel like the world's gone cuckoo. I really do. So Biden was asked, look, Trump is someone who never apologizes, never has. He's never admitted he made a mistake. Even now, nearly 100,000 now. Yeah, in today, by today, we'll hit 100,000 dead in America. Unbelievably so, okay? And he's never admitted a mistake. He's never apologized for anything. He's never taken anything back, okay? So Democrats are worried about that sort of thing because Biden, the other day, said something on an interview that they kind of took it, or the right wing, to try and put flames on him, tried to twist it that he was taking a black vote for granted. And he came and he apologized and he said, no, I didn't mean it that way. However, look, I've always had black votes. I've always respected the blacks. I've always fought for black causes. This is why Barack picked me. I served with the only black president for 8 years. He's like family. And so he defended himself, but he apologized. But then the press have another angle to this. They're saying to him, look, you're going to go up against someone who doesn't apologize, right? So you might have a slip up. You might make a mistake at some point, okay, during the campaign season. He will do lots. We know he will do lots. Every day he's doing them anyway. So that's a done deal. And they're saying to him, he won't apologize for his. So he won't look to some people like he's done wrong. You will apologize because you're a nice guy. And that's the right thing to do. But in the world we're living in now, it seems like not apologizing is the strongman thing. Not wearing a mask is a strongman thing. How do you hope to combat that? Listen to his answer.
Never apologizes for it. Is there a double standard here? And if so, is there a lesson for you in how to compete with him?
No, I'm never going to stoop to where he is. I'm not going to do what he does. He says so many outrageous things. And to usually divide, separate the things he said about African Americans and women and across the board, Asians across the board, and...
I thank God that he is resisting the Democrats who are calling him to go dirty. And he's refusing to stoop as low as this guy, because that's what generally happens. When you talk to a fool for too long, you become a fool yourself, because you should have been smart enough to recognize this guy wasn't going nowhere. He's unteachable and he's a fool. So if you carry on arguing with a fool, you can look like a fool yourself. And I think his policy, as long as he calls this guy out hard, I think he'll be fine. Because what Hillary didn't do, Hillary didn't call him a liar at every opportunity. They took that, we're not like you type of thing, attitude. It didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work for many reasons. Hillary was dirtied by the right wing, obviously, but many other things. Her husband's past and everything else, being tied to her husband dragged her down 100%. Because if she was married to someone else who had never served, who had never been up there, she definitely would have won. By the way, she still got 3+ million more votes than Trump. For those of you who think Trump just won, he didn't just win. He had less votes. So 3+ million people more cast votes for Hillary, which means if they were in the UK with UK's voting system, okay, she would have won. She would have won. But America's got a different voting system. It's called Electoral College. So their system, I will explain on another day, but it's based on winning states. So states are awarded points. So if you're in California, you get certain points. If you win Texas, all the big states got big numbers. If you win the little states, they got littler numbers. So it's about winning all the red states that are going to vote red anyway. And then the blue person, the Democrat, wins all the blue states that are going to vote blue 24/7 anyway. And then you got a group of states in the middle, Florida, Michigan, Pennsylvania. These states are called what they call swing states. So they'll swing to the person who won the presidency, or they'll swing back to this other person and they win the presidency. But I'll break all that down to you guys at a later date, closer to the election. I'm keeping this platform up until the UK election at the minimum. And that's 5 years from 2019, because we voted in in December of 2019. So I'm going to be here minimum up until 2024, because I am not sitting back again and watching stuff go down without at least venting my opinion and giving whoever cares a platform to decipher stuff, right? So I'm coming to my last video now, guys, and my last video focuses on Joe Biden and what he says about Barack Obama. And I picked this video as the last video for my black mates in this country, who seem to be the only ones, along with the right-wing people, who think Obama's rubbish, who think Oprah is rubbish, who think Obama never did anything for black people, who think all sorts, got no respect for the guy. The only person who looks like them who ever held the highest office on earth. So this last clip is directed at them, and this comes from Joe Biden. Take a look.
That I was talking to a friend of mine today, a leader in the African American community, and I said, why is he going after Barack? He said, because it stirs up his base. Barack's a black man. I don't know what that's the reason, but all of a sudden Barack, most popular guy out there, and he's attacking Barack. What's that all about?
Welcome back, guys. We've come to the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like my new set. We're going to keep getting better at this thing. Hopefully by the time the elections come round, we'll have a professional studio or semi-professional, much better looking. This thing I started on a whim, guys. And I started on a whim because I was just so upset with just the amount of fake news that was floating about. And I'm glad I started it. And I look forward to your support. Please subscribe. I need to get to 100, not need to, but I would love to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this month. It's now the 27th, so I got literally 4 days, guys. 4 days to make 100, and I think I'm at 62 or 63 at the present. So I need 27 more subscriptions. Guys, listen, let me finish this by saying to a lot of my mates who think that if Muhammad Ali, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X were here today, that they would still respect them. And the bad news, my friends, is you will hate them as much as you hate Obama today, because you are fully entrenched in the right-wing bubble. So without further to say, guys, I'll bid you guys a fantastic Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, Thursday, for tomorrow's topic. Take care now, and have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.